Good morning. I hope you all are doing well. My name's Rebecca, and welcome to my channel. Today's going to be a little bit different. I want to talk to you guys about something that maybe my closest friends know about, but in light of recent light being shed on the situation, I figured it was probably about time to tell my story. I want to start out with a little bit of a bio about myself. So I'm 30 years old. I am the mother of a almost 12-year-old girl and the wife of my husband, obviously. I have not had the easiest life. That's not to be confused with the fact that I might not have been raised in a home that was well off, or that I, was in the ghetto or anything like that, because that's not the case at all. I was raised in a really, really, really nice area in Santa Cruz, California. I was I'd say my parents were well off. They had a very nice house, and really the rest is kind of history. I guess I should start with the beginning. So I was adopted. I was adopted when I was like 2 to 3 days old. My biological parents had already kids of their own, two together, two boys, and had, I think my biological mom had one daughter with another marriage or another relationship, and my biological father had, from what I'm understanding now, at least 4 other kids. And so I just was the lucky one, I guess. They had my 2 brothers in, the back of a car, in a trailer, that sort of thing, and that was their plan with me. But my parents hired an attorney who happens to be a family member of ours to find them a kid to adopt, and they, I guess, found the ad in the newspaper. And my mom was living in Arizona. My parents were living in Arizona, my biological parents. And she was very pregnant. She was like 8.5 months pregnant. Didn't know if it was a boy or girl. Hadn't been to the doctor. Smoking a pack a day. If you ask me, probably using drugs. And they were living in a trailer, dumpster diving for McRibs, as my biological father would later tell me. So, it was rough, and they were planning on delivering me the same way. So when my adopted parents met them, they, said, "Oh, we'll pay for the doctor's expenses. Just please go to the hospital and drive right over the border from Arizona to California and into Blythe, which is like a little no-name town in California, on the Arizona border, obviously, and deliver her there." Or delivered the baby there. They didn't know if I was a boy or a girl. So that happened. I was born. I was, I guess, healthy somewhat, as healthy as can be. And I was given up for adoption. And I just found out recently that my biological parents tried to kind of go back on it. My biological dad didn't want to give me up. And my parents ended up paying them money to fix their car and do a couple other things in order to get me. So, needless to say, it would have been rough growing up the way I would have, but I came home to a beautiful home, and there's never been a day I didn't know I was adopted. I guess my mom told me as a bedtime story when I was a baby, and I've always known. I've always had access to my adoption records, but as you'll find out in a different story, like my parents had a different last name and it was very hard to find them. Eventually I did. So I want to fast forward a little bit for you guys. Something happened to me, which I can't really right now talk about because for legal reasons, but and it kind of changed the course of my life quite a bit. And what I can tell you is that I was abused, and I was abused in a sexual nature. And when that happened, I was too young to really understand kind of what was going on, or, was this wrong? Was this, I was too young. I was first grade, second grade. Not first grade, I'm sorry. Second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and all the way up into fifth grade. I vape, so I'm just letting you know, disclosure, I'm gonna be vaping. So this event happened multiple times throughout my younger childhood. Now, after it happened, obviously there was a time when I started learning about sex. As a kid, I think that would be fifth grade. You start learning about it, and once you start learning about it, you kind of have one of those aha moments, like, oh my God, that was sexual in nature. That was not right, and there's a lot of shame that comes with that. And so I say you, but me, I internalized it. It really sat with me hard, and I felt like that's all I was good for. And how could someone do that to me? I felt betrayed. I felt gross. I felt, it's really hard to trust after something like that happens. And so at that point, I was going into middle school, and I really wanted to fit in. And I want to say maybe I was hanging with the wrong crowd, but I really wasn't, not at that time. And there was kind of a shift. So I was 12 when I lost my virginity. I'm not proud to say that, but because of some of the things that had happened to me in my past, I think that's probably part of the reason. And so I lost my virginity when I was 12. It was actually, funny enough, to a younger guy than myself by 1 year. It was more of like a relationship of convenience. And after that, it was like, I was off. I felt like I had purpose. I felt like I had meaning. I was getting attention I wanted that I had never gotten, or I had gotten the wrong attention. And that's kind of like the beginning of the end for me. So fast forward to 13, my adopted parents are Jewish, and so I had just been bat mitzvahed, which is a very proud moment for parents. Well, shortly after being bat mitzvahed, I had to come to my mom and tell her that I was indeed pregnant. Yes, pregnant at 13. And I remember the conversation. She has a 4-post bed up in her bedroom, the master bedroom, and I walked up there. I asked if we could talk, and I sat down next to her on the bed, and I told her, and the look of horror on her face, and her just trying to rationalize, like, okay, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna, and me going, no, Mom, I want to keep it. Like, this is my destiny. This is what I'm meant for. Now, obviously, that's an awful decision. And I'm not saying I condone abortion for no reason, but I do believe that women should have a choice, and I do believe that it can change the outcome of your life. And I don't believe that, given some of the things that I had been through, that it was 100% my fault, that that's what I felt like my purpose was. So I thought that I was in love. I thought that, of course I can make it. I've always wanted to be a mom. I wasn't one of those people who had some big aspiration to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. I just thought motherhood is my calling. That's what I want, That's what I've always wanted to do. And I was going to run away. I was going to do all of these things. And inevitably, right before it was almost too late to make the decision, and I mean right before, I decided to go through with an abortion because my mom was going to kick me out. My mom was going to, it was too much. I just couldn't handle it. And I was past the point of being able to take the medicated abortion, which is just like a pill form that you take, and it kind of causes you to miscarry. So I had to go in for a surgical abortion at 13. The nurse had to hold me down. I was screaming. They gave me one Vicodin and gave me about 10 minutes for it to kick in, which is not long enough. And I was traumatized completely by that experience. So let's fast forward a little bit. I was hanging out with the guy who got me pregnant and his best friend, and these were all friends of an old boyfriend I'd had, plus the brother of an old boyfriend I'd had, and they were all older. I'm talking 16, 17, I'm like 13, 14. And I guess you could kind of say it was like let's just say my nickname was jailbait at that time. So I was kind of promiscuous. I didn't really care. And my home life was getting more and more rough. When I say rough, I mean, I would talk back, you're not my parents, I hate you. My relationship between me and myself and my adopted father started getting physical because he was an alcoholic. And so we were all trying to go to therapy. We'd go to, one-on-one therapy and then family therapy every week. And then I got picked up by the police. And at this time I was a runaway frequently. I would sneak out every night and come back, and if there was a time where I would get caught, I would just leave and not come back, or sometimes I would just go out and leave and not come back. And I didn't want to be around my parents. I didn't want to be around my dad. And my cat is trying to get in the room and she's whining. Can you hear her? Oh my god. Anyways, so I got picked up from juvie. Now, let me tell you, I was going out every night. I was stealing my parents' debit card. At the time, my mom was making really good money, and my dad was fixing up a house that they had just got and they were trying to sell. And they would take out cash to pay their workers, and so I knew I could get away with taking some cash out. And so I would go to their bank, specifically to their bank, and the one that they always pulled out from, so nothing looked all that different. And I would pull out $500 before midnight and $500 after midnight, which is the ATM limit. And I did this for months, and I felt justified because my mom wouldn't stand up for me, and my dad would get physical with me, and they didn't understand me, and they didn't love me, and whatever other reasons I could come up with. And once we would get that money, we would go to UC Liquors and we would buy alcohol and cigarettes, and we would go down to a billiard hall local to the Santa Cruz area called Fast Eddie's, and we would go play pool for hours, and I would pay for everything. And then after that we'd go to Denny's and we would eat, and I would pay for everything, and I would tip 100%. And ends up being I paid for some of these guys to furnish their homes and stuff like that. But didn't really care. I didn't really care about getting caught. I didn't care about the repercussions. And so eventually I slipped up one time and I decided that it didn't matter. I didn't want to drive to the bank. Let's just take money out at 7-Eleven. And so the second my parents saw that on their bank record, they kind of did some math and they figured out what had been going on. And I was picked up by the cops and taken to juvie. The first time in juvie, I was just in the holding cell, which is fucking miserable in the holding cell. You're in there with whatever came in last night, and they're just, either they're sick or, crazy or, whatever. So sat in there. And when my parents realized that they were going to have to pay for me to actually stay in there, they came and picked me up and dropped the charges. The charges were grand theft, burglary. Those are both felony charges. And so they had dropped out those charges, and my mom just was relentless. Like, where's the money? Where's the money? I know you have it. Where is it? I was like, I spent it all. Sorry. She didn't believe me. She was like, you've been doing cocaine. I'd never touched cocaine in my life at this point. I was like, no, I haven't. She's like, you had a bloody nose. I'm like, yeah, I had a fucking bloody nose. Big fucking deal. Anyways, I didn't save the money. Trust me, I wish I had. I wish I just stocked it away somewhere. But no, that was not the case. So, at this point, I was a runaway almost every other day. My counselor, God bless her soul, tried as hard as she could, but the fact of the matter was I had never told anybody about the thing that had happened to me when I was younger. I was too ashamed. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't think it really mattered. It's just going to shame me. And so then I went on to continued running away. And there was one point where I had been gone for a couple weeks. I was actually dressing up as a guy around town because we lived in a pretty small town. And, only going out at night and things like that because the cops knew me. They had taken me home so many times. And I got picked up. Basically, I was in a friend of mine's car with my boyfriend and another friend, and we had just gone to the liquor store, and we were heading back to the apartments, which are right next to the police station in the city that I lived in. And he accidentally ran a yellow light that had turned red, and so we got pulled over. And when they saw me in the back, immediately they called my parents. And my mom had just told me that she was on her way down to the police station. She was going to take off my name from the missing persons list, that she was done dealing with all this stress. She was just over it. I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. And then she gets that call, and they happen to be right around the corner from the police station, which is right around the corner from the apartments. And I remember the cops left me with her, and I told her, I was like, I'm not getting in that car. I'm not getting in the car with him, him being my dad. It's you don't stick up for me, and he's abusive, and I'm not going home with you. And I had a cell phone at the time that I was paying for, and I pulled it out trying to call someone to pick me up. My mom tried to snatch it from me. I'll put a picture in the video, it'll pop up, of what she looked like after the fact, but she basically tried to put me in a headlock. And at this point, I was no stranger to physical altercations with my mom and my dad, because I would come after my mom. I had a lot of resentment towards her for not standing up for me. And my dad was 6'2", so I could, I fended myself okay. She put me in a headlock, and I just bit down on her arm, on her bicep, as hard as I could. And she called the cops. And I remember getting in the back of that cop car. My boyfriend was there, one of my best friends at the time, and the cops knew them too, so they let them say goodbye to me. But I went back to juvie. Assault and battery, another felony charge. So third felony charge. I was 14. No, I was 15. Sorry. went to juvie. I had an earring in my ear, in my cartilage, that had like 2 spikes on the end, and it wouldn't come out of my ear, so they put me in solitary. In solitary, I got really sick. I was dehydrated. I think I had like a stomach flu or something like that. The only time I was let out was to take a shower, and I think I was only in there for like 2 days, but I was violently vomiting. I could not hold anything down, and I got my parents on the phone, or they got my parents on the phone for me. They asked, well, we want to take a family trip with you. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Blythe, where you were born, or do you want to go to Las Vegas? And I was like, well, fuck, I want to go to Las Vegas. Hell yeah. So they picked me up, and we drive to Barstow, which is a little podunk town on the way to Vegas. They bring me to the hospital. I was pumped full of fluids. I was extremely dehydrated from whatever had caused me to vomit so insanely much, and I went to Vegas with my parents for a couple days. And the whole time I was, calling my boyfriend at the time, just letting him know I was gonna be back, everything was gonna be fine, and it comes time to go home. Oh, my parents had a camper on the back of the truck, and I just wanted to chill back there, and so I'm like, I'll just chill in the back for the first part of the ride. I fell asleep in the back of the camper, and about an hour and a half later, I woke up to this very, very large man, like 6'2", maybe 6'3", huge guy, saying, Rebecca, please get out of the camper. You're gonna have to come with me. Like, who the fuck are you? Anyways, I walk inside. My parents follow me in, and it's in the middle of the desert, like middle of nowhere. And this white little building looks like it used to be a house. It's like converted into an office. And this office is the office for Horizon Academy. It's a WWASP school. I don't know if you've seen Paris Hilton's story or Kat Von D, how they were taken to boarding schools for the troubled teen. Yeah, well, I was in one of those as well. And Horizon Academy was in Amargosa Valley, Nevada. It is one of the sister schools to like Cross Creek. Casa by the Sea used to be one of the schools. That one was in Mexico. In fact, the guy, Jade Robinson, who ran Horizon Academy, actually ran Casa by the Sea and is still now out in Utah doing something along those lines, even though these schools are supposed to be shut down. And they bring me in, and my parents are crying, and they're like, we're so sorry, you're only going to be here for 6 months. Don't worry, it'll be okay. And I'm just like, how the fuck could you guys do this to me? Like, you guys are literally abandoning me. I've already been abandoned, like, in the middle of the desert. I don't know any of these people. Like, what the fuck? And so I asked them for a final call. I call my boyfriend at the time, and I say, look, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm going to be here for 6 months. I'll see you later, I guess, And they took me in. I had really short hair at the time. You're supposed to wear your hair up at all times, but I couldn't because it was too short. They dressed me in like granny white underwear, a granny white sports bra, a t-shirt, a button-up overshirt, khaki shorts or a khaki skirt that went to the floor, clogs with socks, and a button cross tie that went like that. And they wanted me to eat. It was like dinner time at that point. I refused. I was like, I'm not eating. I'm not doing shit for you. So they took me to a little white room called Intervention. They had me sit there. They had me sit there until I was going to eat. And I remember the first time I met Ashley. I think we called her Texas. She's from Texas for sure. And she came in, and she was like, are you sure you don't want to eat that? We don't get chicken and dumplings very often, and it's the best meal they have. And I was like, I don't want chicken and dumplings. I don't want none of this shit. I just want to go home. But I didn't go home. I would end up being there for 11 months. and I was pulled early from the program. I didn't get to graduate. But that's what got me to boarding school. I'm gonna go spend a little bit of time with my family, and then I will come back and I'm going to finish this off. The second part of this is going to be my experience in boarding school, my experience at Horizon Academy. And then I'll do an experience in Sun, because there's been a lot. So thank you for listening to my story. Maybe this gives you a little bit of insight. Maybe some of you have been through the same things. Please comment below. Please tell me that I'm not the only one. I'm still really close with all the people that went to boarding school. It's like we don't have to be close, but we just know. You know? We just know. And, yeah. So I can't wait for part 2. All right. Deuces.